More.
What's up, YouTube? Thanks for coming and checking us out for another video. I'm T.
I'm Renee.
And today we are talking about, what's this video we about
Pearly.
to talk about? Just Pearly. Hey, Just Pearly, that's my girl,
we
man.
like
She's dope.
Yeah.
You know, y'all should go ahead and subscribe to her page. I am going to leave a link to her video down in the description. But, you know, let's just get into the video and we'll talk about what we want to talk about after they talk about what they going to talk about. All right.
To be with a man that has a previous children from a previous relationship. Mm-hmm. I'm not gonna say, oh, he needs to be, he needs to have 8 figures, he needs to be single, he can't have kids. I'm not doing that. I know that. Okay, I've got a child. My bargaining power is less than a woman that doesn't have kids.
But the thing is, it would be a good deal for you because when a guy has kids, it's a sign of pre-selection that he can take care of them. So that's the thing that like I see in churches is they tell men to accept bad deals. Because it would be a good deal for you, it would be a bad deal for him.
What if he has kids?
Yeah, even so,
we both have kids.
But he can take care of those kids.
I'm taking care of mine.
Right. But like men don't care about your money. Like our bargaining power is different. It's purity and youth, where you get protection and provisioning. So you get the benefits, and he doesn't.
But if you have the trump card of being cooperative, being submissive, that can work in your favor.
I'm saying it
can. You have to have a good character.
You're correct, and it can. But what I'm saying is, one, there aren't enough men in the church for everyone to get married.
True.
And the other issue is that you're selling a used car for new prices when when really you're on sale.
But
and you should be, and you might have and I would think people in the church, like a lot of the single mothers I see in the church would have better outcomes if they just put themselves on sale, because they also say to be submissive.
Yeah.
And being submissive isn't, oh, you have to wait to marry me to have sex.
But
because that's on your rules, not his.
But the men in the church.
Yes, trust me.
Stop it. The men in the church.
No Nike Town.
The men in the church are also the ones that are actually on it, like in their faith. They're not having sex either. No. So I've been courted by a man in church, and he didn't attempt to have sex with me because he understood that. And he was single. He didn't have a child.
You're more likely to meet a man in church
but he was willing to do the journey with me because he took his faith seriously. But then why did
Yeah. Well, the guy that she's talking about now, it kind of seems to me like almost like he put her up on a pedestal, you know. And I'd be real interested to know how things worked out with him, because something that I noticed is a lot of women will kind of use these men as examples to make their points in an argument, but those be the very men that they don't even want, you know. And in this case, I would think that, you know, she probably didn't even want to deal with that guy. You know, why would he be willing to take on that and gain, you know, nothing in the process? Well, I'm not going to say he's not going to gain anything, but why would he want to take on all of that with no benefits? I mean, it just doesn't really make sense to me. It doesn't really sound like something that a guy that's really, really sure of himself would do. But, you know, I guess we're all different. Did you have any thoughts on that part?
Yeah, you know, she said something that was interesting. Just Pearly, used car, new prices. And as women, we're not cars. However, when you are used, when you're not a virgin anymore, you know, what is the value? Like, I think that's just one of the bigger questions that we as a community perhaps should ask. What is our value? You know, how are we obtaining value? How are we maintaining the value? And there was one more thing about, how are you enhancing yourself? It's not to say that children are not a burden or a curse or anything, but how are you enhancing yourself as a woman to obtain the things that you want? And then lastly, let's not get into fantasy. Like I really worked on that once I was growing up as a teenager. Like, don't fantasize about guys. Like, you know, there's a real person that you need to understand and know, not the fantasy in your head. But I'm gonna stop there.
Yeah. Well, you know, sometimes it's just beneficial to use metaphors to kind of help people understand your point a little bit more. I don't think that Pearly is saying that women are used cars, but I think she's just to make her point, to help understand. I mean, if you wouldn't do that for a used car, if you wouldn't pay full price for a used car, I think she's making a point. Why do women expect men to pay full price for a used woman? And when she talks about used women, and when I do hear that in this sphere or whatever you want to call it, I mean, they call it the manosphere or red pill or whatever you want to call it. I think that they're talking about women that have kids. And when they talk about used cars, and even in the girl's case that they're referencing in this video, you know, she has a child. And the guy that was coming on tour in the church, he was willing to take on her and the child. So, you know, I guess the argument can be made if a woman has a whole lot of bodies, then, you know, then she could still fit in that used car metaphor. But I do think that in this case, it was specifically in reference to women that have kids, and a man taking on that responsibility of, you know, someone else's child. Y'all correct me if I'm wrong. You know, please in the comments. I mean, how did y'all interpret that? You know, when Just Pearly referenced the used car, were they talking about just a woman with a sexual past, period, or specifically a woman with kids?
Well, yeah, I did catch that the woman, she mentioned that she has a child. But for me, you know, just to relate to women, I'm like, well, it's just a woman who's not a virgin anymore, you know. Yeah. I don't want us to think that our values are in the hands of men. Just being real with myself, like for my future, you know, children and the women that I encounter, like I really think about these things.
Well, if you want to be with the man, then your value is in that man's hands, and women should start being more receptive to what men are saying if those are the very men that you want to keep you. You know, it would just be in your best interest. I think too often women are listening to other women. And if that's a woman that's been kept, then that might be a good woman to listen to. But a lot of times women are out here listening to other women, and it's just like, is that who you trying to be with? You trying to be with your girls? Or
are we talking about bad advice here from other women?
That's a whole nother, I think we say this.
I'm like, hold on.
Say this every bit. That's a whole nother conversation. Yeah, that might have to be one of our first shirts one day. That's a whole nother conversation. I like that. But anyway, let's hear a little bit more of what of how Pearly responds to the other lady. Yeah.
Why didn't you marry him?
Because he wasn't the right one for me.
No, because you weren't attracted to him because he's a simp.
No,
because that's simp behavior. That's simp, like honestly, because if you had a son that was childless, you wouldn't want him to date a single mother that's a born again virgin. And you might not say born again virgin, but you may as well be.
Yeah.
But can I just say, I actually know a couple who met in church. I'm going to give you some hope here. And they both had children, and they have both, they married, and they're expecting their
possibility, or women like think in possibilities instead of probabilities, when the majority of the women I see in the church are single. So you can say, oh, here's this fairy tale that might happen to you, but if you keep selling a used car at new prices, that like the majority of women will end up single, and that's what you're seeing in the churches. Walk into any church, the majority of the women are single.
They just go pray on it.
I've got Jesus, so I'm okay.
and they think that, but the problem is a lot of women will be homeless. Even in the UK, you guys have a lot of bailout programs, but let's say they can't afford those anymore. Where will you go? Do you have $2.5 million for retirement? You'll be on the streets. And so finding a relationship can be life or death for a lot of women, because who's more vulnerable than women on the street? So you.
Man, she be dropping so many bombs. But I'm not gonna listen to Pearly's whole video. I don't want y'all to watch the whole thing here. If anything, I do want y'all to get over there and check her out, give her a view. You know, she's really dope.
Yeah, she said a lot in that last clip, so I think that we can take another stab at it here. And man, she mentioned a lot. I gotta think about it for a second.
She did. Nah, she did mention a lot. And
the church.
I mean, but yeah, there's really nothing else to say. Well, that's where a lot of that fantasy comes from, in my opinion. A lot of that delusion You know,
the church or other women. I mean, because the church you have men and women in the church.
A lot of men have left the church. You know, especially if you're talking about younger men. You know what I'm saying? A lot of the younger men have left the church. You know, and there's reasons for it. You know, a lot of these pastors out here just be on some other stuff, and all y'all got to do is look around. It's some stories floating around social media right now about some suspect stuff going on with pastors. So, but you know, this didn't just start yesterday. You know, I think that the churches, you know, like many other things, but a lot of them are just trying to get money. You know, they're money hungry. You know, and who's tithing at the church? Who's giving all the monies? I think that a lot of times the messages are going to cater to
the audience,
unless you're talking about a pastor with a lot of integrity. If you're talking about a pastor with a lot of integrity, I think they'll sacrifice some tithes to just keep it real, you know. But I do think that there's a lot of pastors out here that don't got integrity, so they're just gonna say whatever to get the people coming in. And if the people coming in are the women, you know, because they'll give you all their money, you know, as long as you cater to their emotions and tell them that God's going to send them a man eventually. I mean, whatever, you know. Women, in my opinion, because women are more emotional, a lot of times they can be easier to manipulate.
And that is something to note, you know, as far as like guarding yourself. You know, I like to understand my nature as much as possible. I'm not perfect, but like learning these things about myself as a woman, like helps me stay more in control. Like, you know, but yeah, it's something to note about the church, because I do attend church, and you know, if the church is filled with a lot of single women, I mean, what are we doing to talk about family planning and how to obtain and, you know, value the things that men actually care about? I don't see the correlation in conversation about men and what they want and women and what we want. You know, I hear what we want. We want this, we want that, we want it all. You know, we want him to be alpha, but we also want him to be very, very sensitive. And you know, I'm speaking from
sounds like a fantasy Disney movie.
But
she said fantasy.
But yeah, and you know, when we fantasize like so much, it's like the person's not even real. We can miss out on some great men that can add value to our life. But having and talking that way, like, you have to admit that you maybe lack, or I don't know, maybe being more real about your wants and what you're bringing to the table and what you qualify for.
Yes, I'm glad you said that. You know, I don't think women just need to be more honest about what they want, but they got to be more honest about what they bring to the table, because, I mean, I guess we should all be confident, but, you know, all women can't be dimes, you know, but if you ask the question, majority of women will most likely say 9, 10s, and, you know, I mean, obviously that's not the case. And it's not just about looks, you know. You know, you can bring a whole bunch of other things to the table as a lady. But whatever it is you bring, I just think you got to be real honest about that. And then also determine, okay, well, where would that put you, you know, on the scale of men? I mean, whatever you bring to the table, is that going to bring you the top, most rarest dude that's out here? Be honest about that. And the more honest you are with yourself, in my opinion, the sooner you're going to be able to find somebody compatible with you. But as long as you're out here being delusional, telling yourself lies, being unrealistic with your expectations, I think it's only going to delay that, you know, that point in time where, you know, you are really able to meet somebody that you connect with. Because you're probably just going to be blowing everybody off. All those good guys that you spoke on.
The guy that was in the video. I mean, the woman that she's described this guy as, I think, everything she wanted, but
he
wasn't
a
what
dude.
He was everything she wanted, but he wasn't everything she wanted.
And women always,
and it was very confusing. Even when I was listening to it, like, okay, so what did he do wrong, sis? You know, what did he do wrong?
He was too nice. He was too nice.
He wasn't.
I bet you. I bet you he was too nice, and he was
nice
going.
Guys finish last.
Yeah, that's what they say, and you know, and he was. She met him in the church, He probably
was patient. He waited. He wasn't trying to. He
probably would have been loyal. Women always talk about the cheating part, how they don't like getting cheated on. That dude, because in my opinion, a lot of dudes do cheat, but I don't think all men cheat. I know some men personally, like I know that they don't cheat. You know what I'm saying? So so it depends on the guy. You know, in my opinion, based off what she said about that dude, that probably is the dude that would have been loyal to her as well.
But does she recognize that? Does a woman? Do we recognize?
I think so.
When
I think so.
But I think was that a thing of her not being real with what she really wanted? She wanted someone maybe more.
Not as corny.
I mean, that's a thing. That's the thing. You don't want a corny guy.
Probably.
That's a thing.
That's what I'm saying. Like, because you just asked, do they realize it? I do think that women realize it, but I think they're gonna view that as corny. I think she probably viewed him as corny, and that's probably why she didn't give him a chance. I think she knows that he was a good dude. I think she knows he was a genuine dude. That's probably why she's using him to drive her point right now.
Well, yeah, Just Pearly did say that it was simp behavior. So for her to pick up on that, I mean, because I didn't hear a lot of the details.
Well, I picked up on that too. That's the same thing I was saying. You know, I said it probably is a dude that she's not attracted to. It's obvious. But again, to make her point, she's going to use this dude that she's not with. And I don't understand that, because you should already know the next question is going to be, so what happened with y'all? Are you still with him? And of course not. So it's just like, why even use him? Like, in an example like that, why not use the dudes that you really like? What happened with them? You know what I'm saying? I think that's the more...
Did he require more? I mean, I don't know. I really don't.
Well, you know, I mean, I think we could end this one here. I don't got...
This is good.
It's good?
Yeah,
I don't got anything else to say about this, y'all. But again, I'm going to include the link at the bottom. Please go ahead and check out the rest of the video if y'all want to hear the rest of the convo. And until next time, thanks for listening, y'all. Oh, yeah. Please like, comment, and subscribe.
Ooh, yeah.
We really are trying to grow our page. We appreciate the views. Until next time, peace.
Bye.